You're most welcome to Gmodism, and we are back into Satisfactory. So, today we will look at 5 blueprints that you should not play this game without. Gmodism. But we do need to unlock some stuff in order to even get these blueprints. So, let us get into... By the way, can you see this beautiful little shop upgrade I made? Well, it's just steel beams, but whatever. And if you're new to the channel, I will bid you very welcome to Gmodism, or Gmodism Total Nerdy Channel, as we sometimes say. We are playing a Satisfactory series, and if anything is unclear, please check the earlier episodes, because this is a series, and if you want this series to be seen by more people, please like the video and leave me a comment, and I'd be very happy. In any case, to develop these blueprints, we need to unlock a certain thing. And as you can see here, we, last time we unlocked oil processing, as you already know, and this time we have industrial manufacturing. So we will need to unlock industrial manufacturing, because one of these blueprints we need to make, that we cannot play this game without, does contain the manufacturer. So let's unlock industrial manufacturing. Excuse me, I cannot speak. So I filled in the materials and let's click launch. Beautiful, we have unlocked that. So we should go to our little blueprint designing facility. Today we're talking about 5 blueprints that you just cannot play the game without. And I am completely ashamed over myself that I have been playing the game without these blueprints for such a long time. This is the first one. I'm going to show you basically how to make it. It's a little bit similar. If you remember our blueprint tutorial, which we looked at before, we made this beautiful little quad smelter building thing before. So this is 4 smelters in a nice building with an output and an input. Very handy and very basic. And if you haven't checked that, maybe you should check that earlier video, because we'll just go briefly over some of the features of the blueprint. This is not a general blueprint tutorial. If this is your first blueprint, I really recommend that episode in particular, even though I would want to have you have watched the entire series, of course, because we are going through this game step by step and will continue to do so. So if you haven't subscribed already, you should definitely do so. This is 240 ore per minute as an input and 240 ingot as an output. The reason why we haven't made this blueprint before is that it requires Mark III belts, and now we have unlocked them. So here we have under buildings 240 smelter facility. You can see this is a beautiful box. We can just plop it down wherever we need it. It has a flat roof, so it's very stackable. So we can have 2 on top of each other as well. And it also has a roof. So I'm just going to show you what's in this facility here. Of course, this is already saved. But then we can just open up the sides here. So what we basically did here is that, like, it's very simple. I would just recommend you to build something like this. And it's smart to use this input doors just to make it simply. And for my application, I think it would be simpler to have an input and an output at the same side, particularly for the smelter, but that's up to you. So we have the Mark III belt going in here. We have the Mark III going all the way here, of course. And then we just have Mark 60s to divide them up here, because of course we have 30. Now these are set up to produce copper, but we can of course switch them between catherium, iron and copper. And that's the reason why we have made this facility decently accessible. So of course we can like easily go in there and change the machines. Now I did that for this side in particular. So we can walk in here, change the machines. We can also climb up here. And this is part of the blueprint because you can save different blueprints for iron, copper and caterium. But I want to keep my blueprint simple. So I have the same for each of them. And I have the facility easily accessible through stairs and doors so I can get in easily. Now the other thing you should definitely have is having power connected up already. So here you can see we have Mark II power. They are connected up to each other. So when we are using this facility, we can connect it up using just one of these connections and the entire facility is connected up. Now, of course, this is a splitter. So half of the resources are going to go, or almost half, are going to go up here because of course one floor can only process 120 ingots per minute. Now this is so extremely similar to what we have showed in countless episodes before this. So I will not show how to build this facility because if you've seen the earlier episodes, particularly the earlier ones with the iron and the copper and the catherium, you already know how to stack smelters and stuff like this, so it should be no problem. But it's as simple as this. We have a splitter here, then we have a conveyor lift going up there, and we have a manifold structure, just 4 of them in line, 4 here, 4 here, and this facility, without overclocking, does produce an output of 240 per minute. And as long as the input is 240 per minute and above, each of these machines will be 100% efficient, no problem at all. So this is definitely a blueprint I recommend you to have, which brings it to the first on the list. So we're gonna clear this design so we can start on the second, third and fourth blueprint that you just must have. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been experimenting a little bit here. So what we are going to do, which is going to be our second, third and fourth blueprints that we just absolutely have to play this game, that is inline manufacturers, inline assemblers and inline constructors. So as you do remember, just like a few minutes ago, we unlocked the manufacturer, and this is the enormous beast you can see here. And as you probably have figured out if you ever try to use one of these manufacturers, getting the conveyor belts to just connect up to this darn machine can be quite a challenge. What we are going to do is we are going to design inline templates of, well, constructors, assemblers and manufacturers, in order so that we can line them up side by side and make a complex facility and factory without any effort. So we will need to decide a kind of template to have all of these machines on, and it's going to need to be the same for each of them. Fortunately for you, I have been experimenting and I have found out that we are going to go to walls and select the wall, conveyor wall 3x. So here you can see we kind of have these squares here, like this is a square, like this. And we're gonna have 1, 2, 3. 3 of those squares. We're going to take the conveyor wall and we're going to place it inside this area. So we have like 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3. 2 high. We're going to go to this side and do the same. 1, 2, 3 and 2 high. And this is going to be the input side. Now on the output side, we're going to go here and of course 1, 2, 3 as we did here, 2 high. So this is going to be the output side. And on the output side, we can have materials that will just glide through here. And the bottom line here will be the output but we will have a possibility to have a throughput on the top side, so we're going to leave that open. In any case, to get a decently accurate placement of your manufacturer, we're going to climb up here. And since the manufacturer is the largest machine, we are going to build this one first. And as you can see, we should be able to fit 2 constructors in here. And I already measured that out, but we're going to have 1 manufacturer. So what we're going to do, you can see this little middle line here. So just 1 bit here, make sure we aim correctly. And we can just plonk this machine down there. So of course, in update 8, it might be already out for you when you are watching this video. You can actually use the arrow keys to move them like 1 bit more when you're placing it down. But that's not yet. This is still update 7, I'm afraid. But this tutorial should really be valid, of course, so don't worry about that. In any case, here you can see the output is here, and it should be completely lined up to output this thing here. Now, we of course can drag everything over one edge, but since we did some pretty decent steel production and are decent in our earlier factories, we're going to use Mark III belts just to be sure we have a fast throughput and a fast delivery state of this. So on this throughput line, you can place one or not. It's not very important. You can leave it for now. And since this is going to be a template, we of course need to make this facility very accessible. So we're going to add some walkways and stuff like that later. Then we're going to have a merger here. And connect it up like that. So this machine is now throughputting to this one, and if we have any other manufacturers, we could put them in line and connect them all to the same like throughput or output line. Very handy, is that not? And we're using the Mark III belt because, you know, that's pretty convenient. Alright, now we are going to connect up the input side of the manufacturer, which of course can be a little bit difficult. Here we might be quite tempted to use this first line, but it's not going to fit, I'm afraid. So what we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we could have fewer lines, because if we go in here and select a computer, for example, you can see that all these numbers should add up to a lower value than 270. So we should be able to have a Mark III belt and just have smart splitters and make use of that. But we're going to use all 4 inputs to just make it a little bit properly. Now, I am afraid that this type of setup will be a little bit crammed, and my philosophy is like this, that if you can box and forget things and just make them look nice where you look, that can be a-okay. I think that can be a-okay. But if you really don't want anything clipping, you might need some more space than what I'm going to show you here. We're going to have the first line on top here, because apparently it snaps very well. And the second line is down there. And the third line will be the line behind it. So we're going to line that up here. Very nice. And the fourth line is going to be the one behind here. And that's going to be right there. I'm sure you'll see what I mean with box and forget, but we're going to drag a conveyor lift. And if we scroll here, you hear the click. Yeah, it's connected up. It's kind of clipping a little bit, but I'm going to have a little bit oversight with this because I'm sorry. Click, that one fits in right there. Perfect. And that one goes into there. And I'm so sorry, but this one, it does go straight into here, doesn't it? Since we're already a little bit high, we're going to add an extra layer of inputs and outputs. And this can of course be a throughput as well, since we are able to then put materials through the facility if we need manufacturers producing something else, or constructors or assemblers at a later date. These walls here will be the exact same for the constructors, assemblers, and this manufacturer, of course. We're going to find a mill line, and we're just gonna build up here. You can see that my walls are sticking out a little bit. If you don't want that, you can build them one extra edge to the outside. But I like this little sunken in detail here because, again, we're doing the box and forget method. On this side, of course, we're gonna do the same. We're gonna find a mill, build up 3. And really make sure you get this particular part of the design in a way that you actually want, because this one will be the same for each of them. Now I'm going to find some nice walkways and power to connect up within this. By the way, as long as you're within the caution tape, it's all good. But we're going to have some walkways, we're going to have electricity connected up to this, but as you can see, we have the basic shape here. The output throughput and the input throughput, and yeah, makes a lot of sense, don't you think? And you can easily see how we can fit manufacturers and assemblers. No, we have a manufacturer right here. I mean assemblers and constructors in here too. We're gonna have the power go through the roof here. Gonna connect it through like a throughput like this. And this is gonna be connected up here. I think this should be mighty fine. Alright, so I added some walls and some roofs and some stuff like that. We are going to make a more proper design tutorial sometime, of course, if you want to design nicely. But what you probably can see is that I have added floors in between this. So just to make this well, this connection a little bit more bearable, I just boxed it up like this. As I said, it's boxed and forget, it looks completely fine from here now. And of course, it's completely accessible. We can go in here, we can have another output in this direction if we would need to. And we start with the manufacturer because it is the largest machine by far. So we are basing the outline design out of this. And here we can see we have a walkway, we can walk through, we can connect up several facilities like this with no issue at all. And here we can go and we can, well, control the machine, walk in here very easily and stuff like that. So that is indeed our, well, actually fourth blueprint. We're going to save this and we're going to do the second and third one, which is for constructors and assemblers. And as you probably can imagine, we're basically just gonna replace the machine inside and retain the outputs and inputs. Set direction building, add blueprint here, very nice. It's saved. Alright, so we are doing the same structure but with the assemblers instead. And as you can see, we can fit 2 assemblers in this space which we measured out before, which is of course why I measured out that minimum space for you. In any case, here we have them connected up to the output, pretty basic as we have gone through in previous videos. Now I just wanted to show you another little thing here. You may remember that this basically, these 4 outputs were used last time. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this third little output here. We can use that one for the assemblers to let the assembly lines through. This way, of course, we can use this line to input materials to the assembler line, and we can use these 4 to go through and add the throughput to add them to later manufacturer lines, for example. That could be a possibility. So we're keeping our options open and we want to make it accessible and easy to reach. Now the main thing about building these inline structures is so that we can fix and well, modify them later on in a way that we can basically have them very adaptable to different kinds of jobs. So the first line goes to both of the machines, and the second line also goes to both of the machines, just like this. So as you can see, very straightforward and nice like that. Now we can add back some stuff and it looks a-okay. Everything connected up and nice, going to there, lower belt going to both machines, higher belt going to both machines, connected up to power, and we are also having a accessibility line so we can climb down and set the machines to do whatever we want for this particular setup. So then we can save this blueprint and yeah, start on the constructor. And there we go, assembler, select directory, there we have it. Now we have saved it. Beautiful. And as you can see here, we are building the one with the constructors. So here we have the constructors, we can fit 4 of them in this space. So just like the other ones, we're just going to connect up, well, actually a single line of input and a single line of output, because we will be using, they will all make the same thing. And the beautiful thing of having multiple machines in one facility like this, it's that it's really efficient, because the only thing we need to do to match the output is to underclock them, which is actually more beneficial in terms of energy than overclocking. And there we have the constructor variant. It's very open and nice. I've used the top one input just to not collide with the other inputs. The lower 2 here is for, you know, the manufacturers, and the ones closest to here is the assemblers, and then we have a top line for the constructors. So we have 4 constructors in here. We divide them up using regular splitters. And again, you can also use smart splitters, and of course we can replace parts later on if we need to produce different things within the same facility. If we don't need all the constructors, we could of course turn one off, or we could just make them go underclocked. Then we're having a merging belt, and we used the top line here as or the middle line, I mean, as an output layer for the 4 constructors. And they are all fitted within this frame, connected up to the power line, and easily accessible using walkways and ladders. So, very beautiful little design. Hard work equals happiness. So, well, that's what Fixit wants us to believe. In any case, we're gonna save this last one. Well, isn't that quite nice? There we have the inline constructor, the inline assembler, and the inline manufacturer. All built according to our plan, so we can make future factories much more efficient. Together with our smelter facility, of course. Right, so now we have our constructors, assemblers, and manufacturers in line. Now we need to do another little thing, and that's of course the refineries. Now the refineries, they are some pretty big things, and we will not be able to like fit them in a full facility with like 4 of them in line. So what we are simply going to do is to make a dual refinery and have inputs and outputs ready made, so we can easily well, spawn them and use them later on. So just as we usually do with well, refineries, we're just going to do a template of it so we don't have to redo it every time. And you can probably check out the previous video about basic plastic and rubber if you want some little more guidance on this. And I dragged out the lines of the pipes a little bit further than I want them, just so that I can align them perfectly like this, and then I can remove the things sticking outwards. Because of course these are units that are supposed to be dropped down beside each other, that we should then be able to line up, so we can have like, I don't know, not just 2 but like 4, 8 of them. So as you can see, it's easy to connect up more. We have an output and we have an input on both sides, and they are completely alignable. So we will not do a cover that will cover this thing around it. Rather, we will just connect up some power and leave it at that, basically. And I added this little thing here so we can climb up. And remember, we can attach this walkways in between the buildings to actually snap to them. So with the distance that I'm using for this, you can see we have a 2 square difference in the middle here. Dun dun. And that's enough to fit one of the walkways on top of there. And there we go, it's connected up. And you may notice here that the output and input is on the same direction. So here we have outputting, and here we also have, well, these are the merges. These are also like outputting. So this is rather the input, of course. So the input is coming here, the input of potential fluids and conveyors here. And then we have an output coming here and an output of fluids coming here. So we can really stack them in line and take the production further away. Pretty cool. And of course, I added both fuel and conveyor as input and outputs on both sides, just because it's kind of easier to remove the excess things than to place them each and every time, because a lot of the time we'll need to use both. So I think this is pretty handy. We got them in a little nice, cute concrete foundation, which is of course going to be placed on top of another foundation. So yeah, I'm gonna save this now. A hard day's work at the blueprint manufacturer. And we have constructed our 5 blueprints that we definitely want to have for mid-game to make the advanced and further steps so much easier. And we can just take a little look at them. Here we have the big cube of 240 ore getting produced there in 2 floors, looking quite beautiful. I'm happy with this design. We got our manufacturer thing. We're just gonna plonk down one here so we can take a look at it. And we have our assembler, which is perfectly inalignable. We can stack it up right to it, and we can just connect up these sides in between there. Very nice. And we have, of course, there we go, the constructors. Here we got the constructor. I'm gonna remove this later. Don't worry, I saved the game. I'm just gonna load the save. Here we have the constructor. And we also got the refinery. And now I can't afford a refinery thanks to iron plates. But you get what I mean. This is the fruits of our labor. Gonna be much easier to make big production later on, and I'm just looking forward to using these new templates of mass manufacturing. Quite cool, isn't it? Oh yeah, but anyways, I'm going to go and load up my save from 10 seconds ago, so I don't have to do this manually. Well, in update 8 we will be able to remove blueprints completely with and just selecting all of that blueprint. So that's gonna be very nice. Other than that, just small changes. This tutorial should absolutely still be quite valid. In any case, I hope you really enjoyed this little video, and I'm going to come back with more videos, of course. You should definitely subscribe, and of course, do also like the video if you did enjoy it. Also, I want to give my huge thanks to the people who are actually supporting the channel, which is Admiral Super Dave, Captain Y, Commander Ike the Boater, Commander EG, and Lieutenants Asteria, C2, Powered by Greed, Tyler Ross, and Vincent Veritas. Thanks a lot for supporting the channel, it really helps. And if you also want to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon link in description, and if you do that, you get access to all my blueprints and my save of this world, of course. See you next time. This is your host Gmodism, signing out. Until next time, bye bye.